Hey guys, Sebastian from AskSebby. Today we're going to look at what's going on with the Citi Prestige card and maybe give them some tips on how they can update the card, when or if they end up doing that. Big favor before we dive into all of this though is to give this a thumbs up, and if you're someone who's new here and you want to maximize that cash back or maybe take a really cool trip, then consider subscribing. So what's going on? Back in early July, Citi ended up discontinuing the Citi Prestige. They took down the link to apply for the card. A lot of people thought that, well, maybe they're just taking it down in order to do a relaunch because that makes sense that you want to do that to kind of do a big press release and do a big push, but it seems like that's not really the case. As of right now, the card has been discontinued for new people. If you are someone who still has the card, then you get to keep it, but new people just can't get it. Citi also had some pretty interesting comments here. So for the foreseeable future, the Prestige is being removed from the product offerings, but they're going to be committed to serving the current card members, so that's good. But they're encouraging people interested in their cards to apply for other ones, such as the Premier and also the new Custom Cash. Think about it this way. If you were someone who was going to relaunch a new card, let's say in September or in a month or even 2 months, you probably wouldn't say that. You wouldn't encourage other people to apply for other cards. You would tell them that, hey, something new is coming, building something really cool, keep an eye out for it. So this makes me think that it's not going to be a 2-3 month process. Probably not even within 2021. I'm guessing it's going to be 6 to 12 months down the line when they do a refresh. The one benefit for us is that our opinions might actually have an impact on that new card. So if you're someone with some suggestions, I'd leave them down below. At a minimum, I'm pretty sure an intern has to watch these videos to basically get ideas. I'll talk about some of my suggestions towards the middle, but let's look at what they're doing right now. So in the short term, in the midterm, I guess, it seems like they're focused on the middle ground and the early ground. So what I mean by this is that they're focused on people who are new to credit, who are looking for no annual fee cards. So the Custom Cash is the easy example there. And then they're focused on the mid-tier. Custom Cash is one of the best cards out there for me right now, especially for new people who are getting into this game. You're getting 5% back on up to $500 per month. It's the one that adjusts based off where you spend the most money. For your average person who doesn't want to get a lot of cards, this is an easy pickup because it simplifies everything, and you're spending money on a bunch of things anyways. This means that it's optimizing for that automatically. I know some of you guys either get one of these for yourself or for a player too, and that's fine, but not everyone wants to do that. Side note, maybe this is showing my age, but a label maker actually helps with a lot of things around the house. To me, the Custom Cash is winning that space because it's so much more different than the other offerings, and it's focusing on a real pain point within that demographic. Why does that matter? This tells us that Citi is actually taking advice and playing it a little bit differently, and to me, more intelligently. For the mid-ground, the mid-level cards, we have the Citi Premier. I would argue that it's always been a pretty solid card because of the multipliers it has, especially for people who don't want too many cards. The reason for this is because you earn 3x back on a bunch of categories that normal people spend a ton of money on, such as restaurants, supermarkets, and also gas stations. Outside of housing, I would say those are the 3 big expenses that people have. Factor in that gas stations is generally not a category that consumer cards have. A lot of the times it's on their business cards for other issuers. You still get some of the travel stuff, so 3x back on air travel and also 3x back on hotels and 1x back on everything else. It's one of those cards that covers so much ground for the person who doesn't want 3, 4, 5 cards out there and they just want one solution that they can pretty much use for everything. It's a pretty consistent theme with the Citi Custom Cash, and I think they're going to copy paste that idea with their new Prestige card, or maybe they recall it the Chairman card or something else cool. The Citi Chairman card existed for about 7 to 8 years, and then they updated it to the Citi Prestige, and that's been around for about the same amount of time. The main thing they did to make the Citi Premier a little bit more exciting is increase the intro bonus by 33%. So in the past, it's been 50 or 60,000 points, and right now they've added 20,000 points on top of that. So 80,000 points, thank you points for $4,000 a minimum spend within the first 3 months. Side note, if you want to learn more about these Citi cards and you want to support the channel, we do have links on our website, AskSebby.com, and also down below in the description box. Make sure the links are competitive, but otherwise, huge way to support the channel, so thank you guys in advance. So with the new card or update, what do we think are the parameters? Number 1, I think it's going to be a new name because it's free marketing and the Prestige just doesn't really get you anything. Yeah, we relaunched the Prestige isn't very exciting compared to here is this new card. Let's just look at Justia. Let's go to the last page of Citi's stuff. Citi Fusion. Rethrival is a very terrible name, and I'm glad they abandoned it. I mean, maybe they go back to the chairman name because it's still registered and renewed. Gen F. That also sounds kind of dumb. So to be completely honest, I thought we would find something like we did for Capital One. I guess that's not the case here. We'll just probably keep calling it the Prestige. That was a waste of 10 minutes. So number one, I think they changed their name because it's free marketing. Number two, from what they've been doing at least, I think they're going to make it an all-in-one card, which some of you guys should be pretty happy with. I know the biggest complaint I get, even for people who've been playing the game for a while, is that they want one premium card that has all the features of, let's say, 3 or 4 cards. Number three, and this one might make some of you pretty angry, is that I think the annual fee is going to go up because that's just the nature of things. I'm guessing between $600 to $800. So one of the very easy reasons that they should do this and can do this is because 40% of US dollars in existence were printed in the last 12 months. So the more money you print, the less money is valuable. So they have to increase the prices. Same thing with all the other services out there. So technically your salary should increase by 20 to 40% this year given inflation, but if that's not the case, then you're going to like to sponsor today's video, the AskSebby Job Board. So tons of different companies, but a lot of them are either tech companies or startups. You don't need to be a developer though. They have jobs for marketing, design, corporate finance, HR, so a ton of different things. These are companies that I think have very high potential and are worth considering. So if you want to manage a bunch of influencers in Italic, which I think is going to be the next Costco, is hiring a manager in LA. Pretty much 3 years of experience in either influencer marketing or PR. If you're a software engineer, then I consider something like Alloy, which is building an e-commerce automation tool. For a lot of these companies, something like 10 to 50% of your compensation is equity, which matters a lot because you want it to be worth something in the long term. The companies on the job board are the ones where I think their equity can easily be worth 10x as much in a few years. Go check it out down below, but yeah, just trying to do something a bit different and expose people who might be on the fence about startups to the startup world. So given all of this, what do I think is going to happen to the Citi Prestige? I think they have 3 different options. Number one, I don't think they're going to do. That's going to be competing in the same ground as Chase and everyone else with the premium cards and building out their own lounge system. That doesn't really make sense because that seems like the antithesis of what they're going for. And also if they're doing the same thing, I'm not sure if they can win. Number 2 is becoming a coupon book, which is what I suggested to American Express and what I would probably do if I was running a credit card company. Basically find these other vendors to foot the bill for these credits and then charge money in an annual fee for the card. It's probably one of the best business models out there because you're making an annual fee and you don't really have to pay much out yourself. Given that other issuers have already done that, I don't think Citi is going to copy them because it just doesn't really make sense. Also, if you factor in the other startup-y stuff where people have been collaborating with these companies, you see Lyft partnering with Chase and DoorDash and stuff, the fact that no one has really partnered with Citi, not directly anyways in a meaningful way, I don't think they're going to go down this route. The third option is going to be having a very high annual fee card that has a lot of multipliers that cover a lot of ground. So for example, a $700 annual fee card that maybe has a $200 or $300 travel credit that's super easy to use. And then you get maybe 5, 6, 7x back on a lot of categories. I think it'd be pretty cool to call it the lucky card, even though it probably won't do well for marketing. So it's $777 annual fee, 7x back in groceries, gas stations, as well as restaurants. The main issue is that you run into the buffet problem. So yes, you can keep increasing the prices and you can make it very expensive, but the only people who are going to go are going to be the ones who feel like they're getting value, or people in Vegas who just don't care because they have money and they're just having fun. But for me and for a lot of people, I'm only going to a buffet if I feel like I'm getting value and I'm focusing on those expensive items, crab legs, steak, prime rib. I'm pretty much always avoiding potatoes and rice and stuff because I can get that anywhere for substantially cheaper. This would pretty much mean that the only people who would get a card like this are the ones who would get positive expected value, who probably run a calculator like this. With the other issuers, there's a bit of clout to it, to say the least. So people get those cards not just because it makes financial sense, but because there's a prestige there, there's a reputation. So those are going to be the 3 main paths. I think it is going to be a toned down version of the third one. I think they can get away with a $600 annual fee, and they're going to have pretty aggressive multipliers. probably 4x back on gas stations and also supermarkets. The rationale there is because those are pretty prone to abuse, but they want to make it at least more competitive than the Premier. I don't think they really want a lot of $504.95 swipes. So probably 4x for those, and then maybe even 6x back for dining because they want to make it competitive. They saw that they had 5x back, that it helped a little bit, but it probably didn't move the needle enough for people to care. Maybe they bump up air travel and also hotels to 5x back, and then they can market it as a 4, 5, 6 card. I don't know, I feel like that has a little ring to it, but maybe I'm crazy. My hope is that they end up adding some of the travel insurances back, but I'm not sure if that's profitable, if they can make that work. If they can though, I'd happily have them remove something like Priority Pass. It makes sense for them as well because there's so many cards out there that have this already. So back in the day, having Priority Pass was a pretty big deal, but nowadays there's so many cards out there, even ones that have a $95 annual fee that get you into the lounge. Alternatively, they could partner with something like Lounge Key instead of Priority Pass. That way it at least looks a little bit different. So Lounge Key is pretty much exactly the same thing. One thing that I think might be interesting for them to test, and hopefully they don't do this because it probably won't work out for a lot of us, is if they have a minimum bank balance in order to get the card. So if you look at something like the JP Morgan Reserve card, you technically needed to have a pretty sizable balance there. They could do something that's a lot more reasonable in the 50,000 to 100 to 250,000 range. And if they had that as a minimum in order to get the card, then it puts them in an interesting spot because they can kind of make money on those other fees on having you as a banking customer, but lose money on the credit card. There's a reason why Costco still sells $5 chicken. Something that would be very cool, which won't happen because Citi's tech is a little bit behind, is if they had different multipliers based off your balances. So Bank of America kind of does this, but I feel like they make it a bit more complicated than it should be. Something that seems pretty substantive that's easy to understand. I, for one, am pretty excited for the new Chairman card, especially given how they've iterated on their other cards like the Custom Cash. Again, if you want to learn about cards, whether it's Citi, whether it's someone else, and you want to support the channel, links down below and also on our website, AskSebby.com. Unrelated, but the Prestige was a dining card for a long time. If you are someone in Philly, New York, Atlanta, Boston, or Chicago, and you want to get upwards of 25% back on your meals, then check out something like Seated. Holy crap, so upwards of 38% given what's surging. It's kind of crazy that we care a lot about 4x back for credit cards when you can get 38% back on your meal from dining using these apps. If you want to check out Seated, then you can get $15 after your first meal. Link down below if you want to support the channel. My question for you guys is, how would you design this card if you were someone that worked at Citi? So assuming that you wanted the card to do well, but you also didn't want to get fired in a week. As much as I want AskSebby subscribers to get $1,000 credit, that's probably not going to happen. What would be your proposal? How would you launch this card? Let me know and everyone else know, and probably also Citi know down below in the comments. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you know anyone else who benefit, share this with them. Will probably help them out. But otherwise, hope you guys liked it. See you guys next time.